The Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte, the governing body of all other special assessments and taxing districts for which said board so acts, is now meeting in regular session. Only those items that indicate a special time will be heard at that assigned time. All other items may be taken out of sequence to accommodate the public and staff availability. Supervisor Finnegan, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any, are there any new employees to introduce? Okay, seeing no new employees. Council, is there any reportable action from closed session?
There's nothing to report.
Okay, thanks. Okay, at this point, are there any deletions, corrections, or additions from the board members to the agenda at this time? In order to add an item to the agenda, the matter must have come to the attention of the county subsequent to the posting of the agenda, and the matter requires action for the next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors.
Am I missing a page?
You got two?
It's a short one.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so at this point, we're going to now hear brief reports and announcements from board members related to programs, projects, travels, and committees. Supervisor Hemmingson, would you like to start?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I had a pretty short couple of weeks, as we all did. Had a Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority meeting. I was asked to do a survey and fill out a questionnaire for the an IFQ survey, which is the individual fishing quota, which was implemented by the Pacific Fisheries Management Council a couple of years ago. So I participated in that. I participated in the International Walk to School Day. I was positioned at the Del Norte High School. Very interesting to see high school kids come to school at 7:30 in the morning. Anyway, it was very interesting, and it was actually kind of fun, to tell you the truth. And then I went to Cookies for Cops, which is always a neat deal to recognize law enforcement for the work that they do throughout the county. And that was it.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Finnegan.
Yeah, I had a couple of meetings as well. Some of us overlapped with some solid waste, obviously was one of them. And I got to tell you, for all the different committees I've been on for the past 16 years, this one is the most frustrating. It's almost digressing into personalities rather than into subject matter. And this 10-member board, I hope that we're winding down immediately. Having said that, then went to a very good meeting at First Five, Children and Families Commission, and talked about the budget and passed our budget for the next year. My daughter's in 7th grade on the volleyball team, and so we went up to Smith River and watched the kids play volleyball, and that is always great that Sarah Miller, who Samples now, I guess, is their coach, and all the coaches work real well with the kids in all the schools. I, too, participated in the walk to school. I was stationed out at Klamath Early River College, Northcrest in Washington, and it was fantastic, passing out graham crackers and pencils and watching the kids come to school. And Jerry speaking about the high school kids, the older kids that go to the college there, their demeanor is entirely different than the younger kids, especially the ones that were riding bikes and scooters. They're just happy to be there, and some of the older ones, anyway, it was fun. Did the Proactive Financial Management Committee meeting. We talked about defeasing the bonds. The board will be hearing more about that later. Participated in a CSAC call where we discussed some of the applicants. We wound them down for the new executive director position, and I think we've got a handful. There was 52 applicants, and we're going to be interviewing the top group in our next meeting next week. Then had a tri-agency meeting, a brief one. Special meeting to talk about what to do regarding the finances of the tri-agency and winding it down perhaps, and there's been some direction there to have the city, the county, and the harbor meet with Mr. Renfro and decide what course of action to take. I'm starting to talk with some of the different departments again in the relationship to some of our programs. Started with family support to see just how we're doing. They're doing very well in the job that they do, and we need to look at the relationship between them and other departments as well to maximize the efforts to make it a better community. Also went to the Harrington House, soup and cookies for cops, well attended, always a good function, great service that is provided there, this community, great safety net. My daughter, Caitlin, turned 13, so I had a little birthday party for her, my last new teenager, and then was just on a conference call regarding the Family Resource Center, First Five, and the Cal Endowment, or Cal Foundation rather, in sustainability for the Family Resource Center. And tonight I get to go to another volleyball game, so lots of fun.
Awesome. Well, I as well attended the Del Norte Solid Waste Management meeting. Also was on a conference call with county staff in regards to refinancing our certificates of participation, so potentially could have, substantial savings to the county every year, and we definitely need that now. So I want to thank Neil Lopez and Jay Serene for taking the lead on this. It's something we've needed to do the last couple years, and with interest rates as low as they are, it's a great time to do it. So I'm looking forward to creating some savings in the process. Attended the Harold Esparza's funeral. It was very well attended. The St. Joseph's Church was packed, standing room only. I know he will be sorely missed by friends, family, and the community, and it's always hard to have someone like that go away. So also followed up, had a meeting with Eileen Cooper regarding Highway 199 and concerns she had, so I'm still waiting for paperwork that she was supposed to send me regarding her concerns, so I'll wait for that to happen. Had a really cool kickoff celebration in Smith River at the Baptist Church there. They are doing open door gym for kids in the community out there. And what is cool about it is it really was initiated by a group of ladies in Smith River, the actual celebration was bilingual, was half Spanish, half English, but that's the mix of the community in Smith River, and these ladies have gotten together and organized this and helped with county staff. CAO Serena is involved with that, and John Horner, our recreation coordinator, as well as Andy Herndon, who's the pastor at Smith River Baptist Church. It's really a partnership and a success at it. And so I'm looking to see more stuff come out of that. I think this is just the initial thing that's happening, and as we're seeing time go by, the more partnerships that happen, the more likely we're to actually expand some things instead of retract. So, but it does take all the players for it to happen. So congratulations on great kickoff for that. Had the honor of representing the county at the Cookies for Cops that RHS and Harrington House puts on. Very well attended, as Supervisor Finnegan mentioned, and Supervisor Hemmingson. It's neat that they do that, because it's not very often that you get a chance to recognize the work that law enforcement puts into the community. So, it was a really good event again. Received various complaints again regarding the fire tax fee that CAL FIRE has put on. We did put a letter in the paper showing people the process. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's an illegal tax. It needs to, and I think will be reversed, but I encourage everyone to fill out their petitions as they pay that, so that when it does get reversed, you get your money back. And then on a solid note, I took my son, my brother, and we attended the Oregon State Washington State game. And met Jay Freeman, who's used to be a local, now lives up in Washington. So he's a Washington State alumni. So we had to bring somebody to the game that we could pick on. So we sat we were sitting at the 50, and Oregon State won 19-6, and really a good game. My son was really stoked. This is his second college football game, and he was looking for Benny the Beaver, the mascot, and Benny the Beaver walked right to the sidelines, and they got a picture together. So he was pretty happy about that. So it's the first game that I've been to that we've won in a while, so that was encouraging. So other than that, we will, at this point, we're going to hear a brief report from County Administrative Officer.
As reported at previous meetings, a couple of the projects that we continue to work on is Point St. George Coastal Trail Project. We will be having a call with our consultant regarding some of the issues that have come up. Obviously, it's a very sensitive area, a lot of sensitive plants, archaeological and cultural issues, and try to get through the end of phase one. Battery Point should be finishing up, and the last billing should be coming in. All intents and purposes, a real successful project. I have yet to go out and see the finished product, but I hear it's very impressive. As Supervisor Sullivan mentioned, I attended the ribbon cutting for the drop-in program out in Smith River. That was very well attended, and my understanding is there were 25 kids the first actual full night, and all we really needed was 10 kids to cover it financially. So it looks like that it's going to be popular, but we'll see over the next several months how that continues. And then ultimately, we hope that when the Smith River gym opens up, we can partner with the school district and maybe move it over to that new gym. And maybe we have programs running at both of the gyms out there, but we'll see. Right now, we started small, and that was what was requested by the public. And I'd like to congratulate the people that came forward, because it was a very well thought out effort, and that makes it much easier to be able to enact a program when that happens. As mentioned by Supervisor Finnegan, I met with tri-agency staff and going over some of the outstanding issues and coming up with some solutions, and have met with the public numerous times on miscellaneous issues in different departments. And generally what our role is to put them in the right spot to get the solutions to their issues. And a lot of times those are community development related issues. So getting them to the right person who can help solve their problems. As Supervisor Finnegan mentioned, we've been working, primarily Neil Lopez, but I've been working with Neil regarding the refinance of the COPs, looking at some savings for the county. And I hope that that will be successfully accomplished, brought before the board here pretty soon. Had continued meetings with our insurance broker, again, with the goal of savings to the county, and trying to go through all of those administrative changes that are within the power of the board to sign off on, and we'll be bringing those forward to the board. It looks like there will be some rather substantial savings before the end of this fiscal year, and that is primarily it.
You know, I do want to follow up, Jay, with that celebration in Smith River. There were some entities involved also besides the ones I mentioned. You know, with California Endowment, Wild Rivers were instrumental in helping the ladies get organized and take it from there. Also, in particular, Noemi Hernandez was the lead on this, and so I thought it turned out really well. Like I said, I'm hoping it really blossoms into a bigger thing. And 25 kids on the first night, that's pretty good. So.
Right. The night that we were there, primarily the age group would have been about 6th grade and below. And I know that there's a lot of teenagers out there that have played basketball all summer long, because I see them. I live out there. And the new facility, the playground at the grade school, has been very popular. And I see the progress on the construction of the gym every day. Drive by it just to see what concrete's been poured and what new rebar's out there. And everybody, you see people standing at the fence staring at it every day. So that type of facility in a small community like Smith River is going to be used. I don't see it being something that is only used by the elementary school. And I talked to the principal, Paige Swan, and the goal is for basically a community type of a building, a lot of functions beyond just recreation. But those facilities are few and far between in Del Norte County. I mean, you have them, but we have a lot of programs going on, and there are a lot of other programs going on that people take advantage of. So that it'll be nice to see the gym go up, but the Baptist Church is a very nice facility. And the fact that they stepped up, we were able to cover the liability as part of a county program. It worked out very well.
Yeah, No, I think it's a great event, real positive thing coming out during hard fiscal times, so. Okay, well, at this point, we're going to go to the consent agenda. Any corrections on that? I'd like to pull item 5 for discussion, so any other?
I need to pull item number 3. I need to recuse myself.
Okay, so you're not going to vote on?
We're not going to be able to vote. We're going to pull it. We're not going to have enough to pass it, so it'll have to go on the next agenda.
Okay. Okay, so item 3 will get tabled to the next agenda. So I'll, at this point, entertain a motion for...
Move to approve the consent agenda minus number 3 and pulling 5.
Okay.
Second?
It's been moved and second. Any public comment on those items on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing no public comment, I will bring it back to the board. Tony, can you please poll?
Do you want to discuss item number 5, or did you pull it?
Well, no, we pulled it.
Okay.
3 and 5, part of the original motion, we're just pulling 3 and 5. 3 will be put on the next agenda, and 5 we'll discuss separately. So, Tony, could you please pull the vote?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan,
Yes.
regarding number 3, County Council is going to maybe offer an opinion on that.
Okay.
I think we can go ahead and do that one. There is actually no money being spent by the county on this particular lease. This lease is a lease to Tidewater of county property. They will be paying us. So because there's no monetary value being spent of public funds in this particular case, I believe that we can go ahead and do it with...
It's fine with me if you say I can do it.
Okay.
Move to
Happy
approve.
to.
Number 3,
Second.
move to approve.
It's been moved and second. Any public comment on number 3?
I guess the point of that one is that or Supervisor Hemmingson can recuse himself and still get a vote of 2 in this case.
Oh, I can still recuse myself?
So, but he shouldn't be doing the second then. I'll second the motion that
I'll
Supervisor
recuse
Finger put
myself,
out. So, Tony, could you please pull the vote?
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes. Okay. Well, that was interesting.
Very interesting.
God, this is feeling like the state of Oregon or something with three of us up here. Okay.
State of Jefferson.
Yeah, state of Jefferson. So we're moving, okay, so item 5, which is the administrative manual. Supervisor Hemmingson,
I didn't have...
you also, well, I pulled it, but,
No, I had number 3. I just thought you wanted to discuss it.
yeah,
I didn't know that you wanted to pull it.
well, I'll pull it to discuss it, so. So I've got a few things in here that I've got questions on. Okay. The section 4.9, is there a reason we have that built in to this administrative manual?
It's an adopted policy of the board, and so as such, we tried to include as many of the adopted policies as possible into this document.
Okay.
I guess being more specific than why is Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority's policies and procedures in here? Should they not be policies, procedures of the counties?
Many times, the grants that we apply for and are approved for require that we have this policy, which was adopted by the board, included in those contracts. So you'll see sections of our contracts that refer to a recycled product procurement policy.
I get that. I'm just saying, why doesn't the county have that policy and refer to it as a county policy under procedure manual rather than referring to some other entity's procedure?
When
policy?
it came about, it was a policy that was adopted through solid waste, and we accepted that as our own policy. But if you would give the direction that you want to bring that policy forward and put Del Norte County's name to it, we could do that too.
I would rather reword it. It looks like when I read through it is we're responsible to the Del Norte Solid Waste Authority, and that doesn't make any sense because that is a JPA that the county with the city formed, but we don't answer to the Solid Waste Authority as a county. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I would rather have the thing reworded on that particular. Ashley willing, if we could My thought would be that if we could put a motion to pass the whole policy minus 4.9 and bring that back later as an amendment to the policy.
Certainly you can.
Yeah, I think with what we're doing at the solid waste, correct me if I'm wrong, is gravitating towards things that apply to the city and the county, having the city and the county boards individually and respectively pass those ordinances so they become our ordinances rather than somebody else's ordinances. And so that would be consistent. So at our next meeting, perhaps we should have 4.9A brought back to the Board of Supervisors to have it be our policy and then interject it.
Well, there's no urgency in passing this today.
No, there isn't. It's been
So we
coming
can
for many
table it, bring
years.
it back to the next meeting with the changes. I think Jay had asked for changes.
Okay.
Our point now is that we have sent this out to all the departments and attempted to get as many comments as possible. Without getting comments the last time, we assumed that it was at a point where we could adopt it. But this is the time to make those discussions, pull it out, adopt it the way it was. We can bring the policy back later on. It's a living document. We attempt to cover every policy of the board, and as such, we can make amendments, have the board adopt it.
I would be for passing everything that we don't need to amend, and we can add or subtract as we go.
If there are minor amendments to wording in some of these that are not just policies of such as this one, then I would suggest at that point, maybe we just bring it back to the next meeting. Those are easy changes. They just need to be made in the text. But in the case of this one, this is entire policy. I'd pull the policy out, approve it. We would come back with a
And amend it.
recommendation to amend and put it back in, once it was approved by the board.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this point then.
Okay, I would move to approve removing 4.9
Approving the rest of it.
and approve the rest of the administrative policies and procedures manual.
Second.
Okay, any public comment?
Just real quick, a reminder that that particular element is required for applying for grants to the state, and we're looking at sending in another application in the near future, so.
But
As long as we get that policy adopted
by
within
the next meeting.
next couple
Yeah.
of meetings, then it'll be
Okay.
fine, but we can't.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. It's just the wording in
And to
it.
be quite clear,
Yeah.
it is still a policy of the Solid Waste Management Authority.
Yes, absolutely.
But as a policy of the Board of Supervisors, it needs to be our policy
Yes.
and not their policy.
Just timeliness is,
Okay.
because there's another grant cycle coming up.
Regardless, is I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's a grant cycle for solid waste and the policy is already there.
No, the state solid waste grant
Right.
requires that we have adopted those provisions, or we don't qualify for the grant.
This is an adopted policy of the board. Putting it into the administrative manual is another step. It's already adopted, so you can continue to use that, David.
Right.
And then when we bring the amended one back, if it's before and you still have time to turn it in, you can do that, or
What's
you
your
can
deadline?
utilize this one.
What's your deadline?
Well, call it
It's a couple-
semantics.
it's a couple months out, so
It
it's
is
not-
already an
okay.
adopted policy.
So we're good.
Okay?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Would rather
because
revert.
this is an administrative policies and procedure or manual of Del Norte County, it needs to reflect what is Del Norte County's.
I agree.
And for all intents and purposes of applying for the grants, this one would still apply until such time as we make a change.
Right.
And then that one would apply at that point, so
Okay.
we're good.
Okay, any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, bring it back. Tony, could you poll the vote, please?
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes.
And just to note, months and years of work by former clerks and administrative personnel went into this.
Years and
Good
years.
work.
Yeah.
Years, years.
Well, as long, I know it's been on the, that whiteboard up in the CAO's office. When I got on there, it was administrative manual, has been there from the very beginning. And I think, as we go forward and stuff like that, and you know, over the years, as new boards come and go, this is going to be really key because it provides an orientation for people when they come in. So I think it's great. Good job. Good work. It's crossed off, right?
Well, I think,
Yes.
As long as we're talking about ordinances, at the last solid waste board meeting, we were talking about amending the county's ordinances to reflect what was in the solid waste management authority's ordinances, and to get together with the city and make sure that those are as close as possible to each other, so that we can eliminate those ordinances within the Solid Waste Management Authority and have them done by the county and the city.
So, yeah, we'd have a uniform ordinance, basically
So if we
countywide,
could-
both city and county,
If we could have staff get together with the city
Okay.
and councils and work on those. Just thought I'd bring that up while
Just
we're
throw
talking
it
about
on the truckload, right?
Well, no, you're exactly right. I saw the report out of the task force, and Dave, you weighed in on that, and I think it's completely
Yeah.
in line.
Just to point out, yes, this has been a long time coming. We do have one in place, but it's not all encompassing like this administrative manual will be. And it is of assistance to not just the Board of Supervisors to be able to refer to, but at a staff level, it's going to be more efficient because people will not have to ask those questions every time. They'll have the reference material at hand, and those policies that have come in over the years, like I said, it's a living document. So if we have a policy out there that we've missed, we will bring it in, integrate it, and this came about because Barbara Drew in administration has been working on this along with myself for quite a long time, and along with IT, and we finally got it in a format. This will primarily be on the intranet site. This is an internal document, but the public can review it also. But this is really for expediency and efficiency at the staff level, but it also, reference for everybody.
Jay, what would you say the time frame that's been on the docket to do? It's been more than 6 years, I know that. It's got to be, what, 15 years?
15 to 20 years that it's been in the works.
Wow.
Over a number of different employees and
So
different
who says
people.
government works slow? 15, 20.
Yes, it's a very well put together document,
I
and Barbara
think
has
it's
done
great.
an excellent job getting us to this point. But we'll see.
Thank you,
again.
Barbara.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the items on the consent agenda, number 7, approve and authorize the chair to sign a proclamation declaring October 20th through the 25th, 2012 as Wild Rivers Coast Food Days, as requested by the Wild Rivers Coast Food Days 2012 Committee. And Supervisor Hemmingson's got the proclamation.
Yes, thank you. Wild Rivers Coast Food Days Proclamation, October 20th, 2012 through October 25th, 2012. Whereas the health and well-being of our citizens is of primary concern for the County of Del Norte, and whereas promoting safer, healthier diets is a critical factor in improving citizens' overall health, and whereas supporting sustainable family farms and local agricultural benefits the local economy, and whereas obtaining fair pay and safe conditions for food and farm workers is beneficial for both the producer and consumer, so that the food we produce and consume is safe and fair for all. And whereas expanding access to food and reducing hunger is of critical importance to aid those who live in food deserts, and whereas reforming factory farms to protect the environment and farm animals is necessary to sustain future generations, now therefore, the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 20th, 2012 through Thursday, October 25th, 2012 as Wild Rivers Coast Food Days.
Excellent. And we have
Is there somebody here?
from
to
the Wild
accept
Rivers Coast Food Days.
Which I've never heard of before.
Yeah. No.
I never have.
This is our committee. Martha Scott is the board member.
Michelle, could I get you to talk to the mic just for folks? I can hear you, but the folks over, may not hear.
Deborah Kravitz and Angela Glore are on the committee, as well as Martha Scott, who couldn't be here today. And we are a committee of the Community Food Council of Del Norte County and adjacent tribal lands. And our funding is coming from the Cal Endowment and also the Del Norte County Healthcare District. We felt that we couldn't, nationally, October 24th is Food Day. Nationally, it's the second annual. We felt that Del Norte County needed more than one day to process all of the various types of ways that we can promote good, nutritious, healthy, beneficial foods for everyone. So we've made it a 6-day course of events. I hope that down the road, when you folks sit here and recount what you've done over the last 2 weeks, that in the future, a month from now, you'll be able to recount your visit to some of the events during the 6 days and be a part of it, because it will be very informative and a lot of fun as well. So thank you so much for
All right.
recognizing it.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Okay, so at this point, we are going to take a timed item. We're about 6-7 minutes past the public comment period, so members of the public may address the board on matters which are within the jurisdiction of the board. If you're addressing the board regarding a matter listed on the agenda, you may be asked to hold your comments until the board takes up that matter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Any public comment? Public? Okay. Okay, seeing no public comment, I will close the public comment period, and we will go on to the other timed item, which was the 10:30 scheduled item, item 9 in the agenda, presentation regarding the activities of the Code Enforcement Division. Mr. Mason.
There it is. Okay.
Did we vote on this, this one? This is supposed
This
to be
is the
Delaware
one that was
County.
adopted.
Did we adopt that one? Was that
Yes,
the?
yes, this is
All
the
right,
one that was
just
adopted.
checking.
That's the official
Okay.
county seal. Changed that yesterday afternoon.
Too much color.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a activity report. So there's been some confusion in the public recently on code enforcement terminology. So real fast, I'm going to go over some of the common terms that are frequently misinterpreted. So property or location, that's where it happened. Violation is what happened. A case is the total of all the records, what happened, where it happened, when it happened. A citation is a penalty that was assessed for a violation. And then a notice is official document saying this is what's wrong, this is what you have to fix, and this is how much time you have left to do it. Blight versus public nuisance. So all blight is public nuisance, but not all public nuisances are considered blight. So for a condition to be a public nuisance, it has to be so severe and such a nature that it endangers life, limb, property, or has a significant negative effect on the public. Visual blight, that's unsightly conditions. Public nuisance is defined 2 ways. 1, something that's so severe that it affects the public, or 2, a specific condition referenced in law as being a public nuisance, which might have the potential for affecting the public. Okay? And then Blythe is a city in Riverside County. Okay. So last fiscal year, 477 cases. At the start of the year, we had 188. We got 289 new cases. So far, we closed in last fiscal year 328, which leaves us with, starting this fiscal year, with 137 open cases. These numbers are fairly consistent for our county. Statewide, the average code enforcement officer handles roughly 200 to 300 cases per year. So we're a little bit above the state average. So breaking these down, on the ones that were closed, 110 were no violation found. Most of those were reports of abandoned vehicles that were just an ugly vehicle that was parked too long, and when we got there, it was already gone. 20 cases were referred to another agency, usually building department, health, or ag, animal control. 12 were issued citations, penalized. 136 complied after receiving the notice. We towed 82 vehicles. 8 properties were abated by the county. We have 84 that are still in process after receiving notice, and 4 cases were referred to the district attorney for prosecution. Okay, here we are. So a quick review of our cleanup grant from the state. $78,000 was available to reimburse us for cleaning up illegal dump sites. When we receive the payment from the state, they hold back a percentage until the grant is closed. And the holdback is to ensure that all of the documents and all the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted.
Is this an annual grant? Is this a one-time grant?
It's up to 3 years. So either we spend all the money and then it's done, or at the end of 3 years, it's done.
And when did we get this grant?
When did we get this?
Recently, 6 months?
Year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
But 78's for the full 3 years.
For the full 3 years.
Okay, so 78's just...
And we asked for 500,000. They only had 78,000 left in the pot, and so we got all that they had left, which is why the 78. We have to attempt to cost recovery from the responsible party, violator, and return to the state any grant money that we've recovered. The county keeps any funds that recovered that were not grant funding, so staff time, administrative cost, and penalties the county keeps. So there's a couple different kinds of recycle grants. The one that we have currently, disposal site cleanup. Another type is tire recycling, cleanup enforcement. That's one of the ones we're going to be going after next because we have to wait 3 years before we apply for another cleanup grant. The farm and ranch cleanup grant, that one does not require cost recovery. That's for innocent victims, farm, ranch, timber property, where the property owner was an innocent victim, somebody dumped on it. This grant money is to clean that up, and then we're not required to penalize the property owner. So this type of grant we could use on like Rowdy Creek Road, where there's a lot of green diamond land, but if we cleaned it up, we'd have to penalize Green Diamond for somebody else's actions. Local enforcement agency grant, that's the one that funds for our permitting and inspection of the transfer facilities. The household hazardous waste grant and used oil grant, solid waste, our local solid waste authority gets those to pay for those activities out there. And then the recycled product grants pay for tracks, playground, mulch, that sort of stuff that's made from recycled tires. Okay, so let me blow through this here pretty quick because I think most of you are familiar with it. So again, the state won't fund a project under our current grant if it benefits the property owner unless the property owner pays back the cost recovery. Okay. So our abatement hearings. Last fiscal year, 23 cases were sent to the hearing officer. Compare that to the year before, 4 cases went to the hearing officer. And the difference is because of the grant funding. We've had times in the past where we've got an order to abate from the hearing officer and there were no funds to effect the abatement. And so we try to send only the cases to the hearing officer that we can actually do something with, actually follow through with. 3 of those 23 cases were given more time, still in process. 8 complied with the hearing officer's order, so we didn't have to do anything. 12 were order debated. So far we've done 8. We have 4 pending that we're going to go out and do. So our abatements are eligible for reimbursement from the state and then back to them after we collect 70,000. Other miscellaneous costs that we don't have to pay them back for, printing, other things. To note, on those properties that we've abated so far, we've removed over 1,000 cubic yards of trash from properties. That works out to about $78 a cubic yard, which I thought was pretty good. Our grant funding left, 6,011. General funds left, 11,428. That's for this fiscal year. So I think we're going to have enough to do the ones that we already have and maybe 1 or 2 more. So cost recovery. We had 3 properties just pay. That totaled up 8,966. Liens that we've already filed with the county recorder, 92,948. Had one of those properties sell already, and we recovered the 37,979 back already. And then we have 112,000 more or less pending. of that 35,000 is going to be up for tax sale this fiscal year. So, just as a note, these payments that we've collected, those went into the general fund, essentially. If we had a revolving account, right now we'd have over 50,000 available for doing abatements. We could just reuse it, just turn it around and put it right back into the process. But the way it's set up now, it goes into the general fund and then wait till next fiscal year's allotment and hope for the best. So, at the end of the grant cycle, we predict funds we're going to collect from this, from the whole grant project and all that, it's going to be right around 100,000 that the county's going to keep after paying back the state. So, now for the pretty pictures. So, Parkway, 320 cubic yards of trash removed from this property. This one's been on our to-do list since 2008. A lot of drug activity, criminal activity, dumping, and so forth. And where it is now, all cleaned up, was sold. Developers, they've cleared 2 of the lots. They're going to put in apparently 2 manufactured homes on 2 of the parcels, and they're going to rehab the existing 2-story house. Old Mill, this one's out near the landfill, adjacent to it. This one's been on our list since 2006. Again, finally got the grant money to go in and clean it up, and we did. We also cleaned up the spillover that was on the county land. Hearing officer ruled that because the person that put it there passed away some time ago, there's nobody to go after, and so therefore we don't have to pay the state back for those funds. So we did that as 2 separate projects at the same time.
Dave, when you do that on a piece of property, I don't know what piece of property this is, but if that property is up for tax lien sale, does a lien go onto that property for what you've done then on that cleanup?
The way it is, it's the, it goes as a special assessment and becomes collected with the property taxes. So we record the lien and then give it to the auditor, and they put it on the taxes, and the taxes aren't paid until the lien is paid. And the tax collector can sell the property 3 years after it's put on the tax roll. So they don't have to wait 7 for unpaid taxes. They can do it in 3.
But they have to include the amount of money that it took to clean that property?
Well, the amount of the lien, yeah.
The amount of the lien?
Yeah.
How big a piece of property was this?
This, a little over an acre, and the actual cleanup cost on the property is right around $12,000. Okay. That includes the penalties, so it wasn't too bad, really.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, move on to the next one. Douglas. This is an abandoned, fire-damaged house, numerous reports, transient drug activity, criminal activity. We use general funds to just secure it and fence it, and there's been no criminal activity since. And then, of course, that lien for that went on. This one's up on Ocean View. Again, abandoned house, numerous complaints of drug activity, criminal activity at night. House was just wide open. We went in, boarded it up good and tight, chained off the driveway to eliminate access to it, and we used general funds, and that also went on the lien. This one was Leela. This is a tragic one. The property owners died in an accident. Squatters moved in. Abatement consisted of removing the squatters, 2,500 pounds of rotten garbage. They just made a mess of the property. While conducting the abatement, while we're in the process, the bank chose to go finish the foreclosure process, and they opted to pay the costs without going to a lien. They wanted to keep the title clear, so they just cut us a check. Murphy, this one was out of town, owner, rental property, was going into foreclosure. The tenants made a mess. Tenants abandoned it. We gave notice to the loan company, and the property was cleaned within 30 days. Reddy Avenue. This one had a long history of code enforcement activity. Most recently, family member of the property owner said, is there anything we can do? We got to get him out of here. He can't live like this. We got to get him up to live with us where we can care for him. So we did the notice. Family convinced him that he should just sell the property, which he did. The owner The new owner cleaned it up, rehabilitated the units, and now it's just really nice property on the street.
These look like two different.
It
These
is,
look like two
those are,
different.
it does look like two different.
These are the same
Those are the same foundations,
buildings.
same buildings. They did an awful lot of work fixing those up.
Look how much shrubbery they cut back too.
Just to note, I lost a pair of boots at this property doing the inspection. They were so damaged by smell, they couldn't be cleaned, and the county bought me a new pair of boots. So I don't know what was out there, but it was nasty. So, but now it's much, 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 much better. Okay, small street, same deal. Single-family home went to foreclosure and then was rented back to the owner by the bank. Notice to the owner was ineffective, so we did notice to the bank. They opted to sell it to a developer who evicted the tenants and did a complete rehab, turned the carport into a garage, moved the door, all new siding, new roof trusses, and just a mountain of garbage that was in the backyard. So, Inyo Street, another one. This one, the owner passed away, family couldn't agree on who was going to take care of it, and the bank made the decision for him. We gave notice to the bank, they cleaned it up, rehabilitated it. All it cost us was some postage and a letter. That worked out real well. Harming Lane, this one was before we obtained the grant funding, and it's just in here for example. Normally we allocate $14,500 for professional services. This one cost more than that to abate, so we had to do it in 2 phases. Did it in half in one fiscal year and then the other half in the following fiscal year. So the first part was remove all the squatters and the trash and vehicles and junk, and then the second part was demo the building and haul that off. With the asbestos abatement and everything else, we were able to get that one in for just under $16,000. So, where are they now? So it's not all about bulldozers and plywood. So, small street, 2006, abandoned, extremely substandard. Heirs were tribal members. The tribe assisted with cleaning and securing the building, and it was boarded up for a while. 2008, one of the family members acquired clear title, rehabilitated, and now it's one of the nicer houses on the street. Joaquin Street, this is one of the first ones that I did come and work for the county. 2006, it was just a severe health hazard to the neighborhood from all the garbage that had accumulated. Was demolished, and now it's a brand new house that color and architecture just blends right in. Kern Street, another one. Owner was in the middle of a remodel. Divorce stopped that proceeding. It kind of went abandoned for a while. New owner bought it in 2009, cleaned it up, and today you'd never know that it was a problem property. This one began back before 2000. The owner died and the heir took over, and he developed some severe hoarding problems. Several agencies tried to do something with it, bought him dumpsters, got him trash vouchers, held his hand, whatever. In 2005, we did the hardline enforcement. He ended up selling it. The new owner cleaned it up, boarded it up, and then rehabbed, and now it's a nice property on the street, no longer a blighted condition. And then last but not least, the Ruth compound on Union Street. Back in 2006, 2007, the state did a major cleanup, and over the last 5 years, we've been chipping away at it. And the last Ruth member out there living was Roy, and in the papers, he got some state time for his activities, and so okay, now's the time to go in and finish the abatement. And then his relatives, the ones that have money and jobs and whatnot, stepped up and said, we want to clean it for him. Have at it, and so they did. So the only things left is a sign that says keep out. And at some time in the future, the owner may obtain permits, install a well and a septic system, and then build a real house. But the shanties and long-term camping and all that stuff from the past, we're not going to let that happen again. We're not going to let it go back there. So that's on our routine inspection list. When we go out a couple times a month, swing by just to make sure nothing's coming back, because we want to keep it clean. So where do we go from here? The goal is to preserve and enhance the appearance and stability of Del Norte through diligent and fair enforcement of codes and ordinances. This is actually our mission statement for code enforcement, resulting in improved quality of life for the entire community. Our plan is to seek additional grant funding, the most cost-effective methods for abatements, continue working with those who are willing to work with us, and to do as much as possible with what we have. We'll continue to prosecute the unwilling and the recalcitrant when necessary, but the goal is always compliance, not punishment, and punishment only occurs when there's no longer a willingness to do the right thing. I was thinking about this morning, and in my focus and writing this report, I was thinking, you know, my job is not to balance the county budget. That's a constraint that I have to work in. I have to work within a balanced budget, but that's not my job. So I don't focus on how do I balance the county budget. I focus on how to get this stuff done and then work around county budget. And so I have a different perspective and take on the grant funding and whatnot, and can't help but look at it that way.
Any questions?
No, good job, Dave. I think that you're the right man for the job, and I think that what you didn't touch on is some of the other code enforcement. I think you focused on the blight and the property stuff, but all around, good job. If the public knew just how much you did do and that department does, I think they would be a lot more active.
It'd be really hard to
Accolades coming
squeeze that
out.
into a short presentation. That would take all day.
Good job.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hemmingson? Yeah, I would reiterate, good job. I've always been real responsive when we've had problem properties in my district come up, and they do a good job with something we absolutely, constituents and the population of Del Norte County really appreciate that, so.
So you won't come mow my lawn for me?
Well, you know, funny you should ask. I remember I was watching on the computer, the solid waste meeting, where one of the city council remarked that their officers' enforcement consisted mostly of mow letters. Just to clarify, we don't send mow your lawn letters. We don't do that. We focus on, not that we couldn't if we had more staff and more money, but we focus on stuff that has a significant impact on the community. People that have rusty nails in their siding or their grass is a little too tall. Yeah, we'll take the complaint, but we have to prioritize, and those take a much lower priority than something that's a health hazard or fire hazard or significant criminal activity flourishing. We have to do those first, and there's only so much time in the day.
You have to mow your own lawn, Dave.
Man, I
Yeah.
figured as much.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Just to add to this, it was noted by the Board of Supervisors in the past that we don't necessarily report out and explain the things we do well. And, you know, obviously this has a very positive effect on the community, and I asked Dave to come forward primarily because there are some misconceptions of what happens, and also the volume of complaints that come into the code enforcement officer. Couple things that Dave did point out. Yes, it's not his job to balance a budget. That would be mine and the Board of Supervisors. And he works within that constraint, and there are constraints. One thing to point out is that everybody's competing inside the service departments for the same money. And that grant was very advantageous to assist in a lot of the projects that are in here. And, you know, the other part, you know, that we receive a lot of discussion or complaints from the public over time about why hasn't this one been dealt with? And I know you board members all get these. And as Dave pointed out very clearly, there is a prioritization. And I know he tries to get to all of them, but some of these, as you can see, require a lot of work and a lot of priority. And, you know, just the value to some of these neighbors, it can't be overstated just what those do for a neighborhood. So, you know, and integrating in with both planning and building, I know they're doing this work, but we're not able to normally get this out to the public, and I think these presentations help out a lot.
Oh, I agree. I think the public needs to be aware of that, and we do. I can guarantee every single one of us up here get complaints on a regular. It's the most consistent thing, besides animal control stuff and dogs that are out of control. This is the other one we get the most calls about, and I know people want it dealt with immediately, but there is a process, unfortunately, that's slower than some people want. So.
Well, and the PR part is, sure, you have the poster childs like off Parkway and Dundas, and great. But what you glazed over, which is equally, if not more important, is the 180 some odd that you noticed the people and got their cooperation, and they took care of it on their own without having to engage us with a lot of extra dollars. So that's very valuable.
Well, and I think there was something else. It was something instituted about 2 or 3 years ago as the public hearing officer. I mean, we rarely ever get things coming to the board now, which is great. I think that's been a good process that we put in place. Because as Dave mentioned, that most people are going to deal with it. They just need to be reminded to clean up your property. So, any other questions or comments?
Good.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Dave. Any public comment?
Roger Getlin. I want to commend Mr. Mason's stellar work. Thank you, sir. There's so much to be done, and when you show us something like this and it brings us to the public's attention, I can only tell you how gratifying that is, because we do have to clean up our county. And I know that there are members in the community, and this person sitting right in front of you, who want to help you financially and want to help you by rolling up our sleeves and getting to work and cleaning up our county. And I can only tell you how pleased I am that you gave this report, Mr. Mason. There are a few spots on Butte and Murphy and others I'd be glad to share with you on another time, Del Norte Street. But I know you're doing great work, and we need to give you the additional help you need from the community, not just from grants, but from people, neighbors who want to help. And we, as we saying goes, I've used this before, we need to take a bite out of blight, and thank you, sir.
All right. Any other public comment? All right. Good presentation. Thanks for the visuals. I think it really brought back to mind all the work that has been done, and seeing the before and after goes a long way. So thank you. Okay, we are moving on to item 10, general government. Discuss the attached letter and maps prepared by the United States Department of Interior, California Department of Parks and Rec, Redwood National and State Parks regarding potential hostile locations, and provide comments and direct staff to develop a comment letter to be signed by the chair and forwarded to the appropriate agency and agencies upon completion as requested by the county administrative officer. Jay.
Yeah, what's before the board today is the notification that came out of the National Park Service and coordination with their staff. And there are 4 locations in the maps, and what we're looking for is some comments, any priority over those sites, and some direction in order to hit that October 15th date for a comment letter on this. When I mentioned coordination with staff, it's primarily been a phone call. It's not a coordination meeting. It was a phone call and some emails to get the information that the board directed from the previous meeting. Now, if there is a specific site in mind that you want to focus on, that would be nice to have so that we can form a comment regarding the site. I don't think the board had any real comments regarding the need for a hostel, but that would be another discussion that we might have to have as to whether or not that's even part of the discussion. But really what we're looking for right now is direction based on the information that's been provided from the National Park Service.
Well, the only thing I would say is that I would like not to see it in the Mill Creek watershed. That's an area that we have been advocating for a lodge facility of some sort, so I would like to not see it there. My understanding is that there's a house there on Indus Beach Road, and they were talking about using that, although I don't know whether it was run down or...
Yeah, I think there's three locations on that Ender Beach Road that, and I was curious too, as Supervisor Hemmingson was, which one of those encompassed that house up, up as you go down to Ender's to the left, up the hill a little bit.
Wasn't that the original McNamara house?
It might be. I know there's a couple of mobile homes that were placed back in the early 90s also out on the sites, out in that area, but I'm not sure if it's...
I think there's
either
a
of
house
these
there
properties.
now, though.
And there was one stick-built still out on the properties. If you'd like us to focus on that site, we can do that.
I would. I agree with Supervisor Hemmingson that I don't want to detract from what the goal is, and one of the promises originally of the parks is to build a lodge in Del Norte County, and we do not want to have this hostel take the place of it, because it's not the same thing. So we need the hostel. It's an important thing. They're replacing it, but it should be on Andert's Beach, not in the Mill Creek acquisition. Supervisor Finnegan?
Well, yeah, I think they're all for. Unfortunately, I was quite happy with the old location, DeMartin Beach down there in Klamath. But having said that, since that's not an option, there is the old house that the park absconded with, or I shouldn't say absconded, but anyways, was in the park properties there on the Andert's Beach Road. I have a little different opinion on the Mill Creek acquisition. I agree with you that we shouldn't settle for that, but at the same time, maybe that's the foothold in the door. If one of the reasons for the justification for putting it there is access to further recreational opportunities, I think we all know how limited the access is now, and if it causes them to at least open the gate so the rest of us can get in there, then we've accomplished something. But obviously, it should not be construed to be the resort that we all wanted to see there. And then again, I know it's supposed to have coastal access, and it's supposed to have coastal views, and right from the old mill site on Mill Creek, there is not that. So probably easier access for travelers to do the Andert's Beach. But I'm fine with whatever they decide as long as they do it. Replace the hostel with the doing away with. I've not had, they're all, like I said, they're all in my district, and I have not had one call from any constituent regarding prioritization. And if any of you watch TV and you feel compelled to call me, do so, or contact the National Park directly.
Did you get contacted by the national parks or the state?
No, I did not, Jerry. I did not.
A little disappointing there too, isn't it?
But I see there's a letter here
Yeah.
to dear friends. I guess I'm a friend. I'm not on the 2x2, so I'll defer to you guys on that one.
Okay. So I don't know if that brings any kind of, you got an idea? on
Clear as
what our
mud, Jay.
response is?
Nope. I got all kinds of ideas.
Well, I just hate, to- I
Would you
mean,
like-
I understand what David's saying as far as getting the door open, but I'd hate to see that's why we opened the door, is to have that hostel there. I don't think it's the proper place for it. I think there's bigger and better things that can be done out there than having that.
And I also think the hostel, if you did have a lodge thing, I don't necessarily know if they're compatible right by each other. So that's one of the things on State Park. I'd hate for them to take that location, the building site that they did mention in their general plan, and say this is where we're going to put the hostel.
And if your fear is that they will minimalize any promise, we have great history of that, so
Yeah.
should be given some credence.
Okay.
Would the board like to mention the notification and lack of coordination in this case?
Absolutely.
Yep.
But tell them we are friends.
It's always done nicely. I will put together a draft letter and email it to all of the board members for any comments, and we'll make sure that we make the October 15th deadline.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
So this letter, just for clarification, I mean, you opened the door for me here. September 17th, dear friends. Did that go to every constituent? Was this something that was intercepted that was directed to the Friends of Del Norte? Was it to the Board of Supervisors?
This was a notification that Supervisor McClure had brought up, and I believe she had a copy of that at the last meeting, and the direction to staff was to follow up on she had the maps, to follow up on any letters, maps, communication that might have come in. And in following up, I had talked through email to Aida Parkinson from National Park Service, and she sent me the letter and the maps, and that's what that you have before you today.
So the board was not sent the letter.
We're not aware of any
And it hasn't come up in
notification
our-
that came
and
in.
it-
Well,
and the
it actually
invitation
has,
didn't come in
it
two-
has come up at our 2x2 meetings, but it was mostly addressing the fact that the hostel on towards Klamath was not going to be able to be saved. And they did mention areas, an area on Inders Beach Road, but they never mentioned Mill Creek.
Yeah, and there was never...
They never came with a plan on, these are our options, and, you know, what do you think about these? They just said that they were looking at sites. We had never gotten any notification like this.
Yeah, in the 2x2, there's never been an invitation for the board or a request for the board to comment. So,
Yeah, to clarify, we received this notification via email. It looked like the notification went out on the internet.
Mass email.
Yeah, and so we, brought it forward in order to view it and try to get some direction in regards to what the board may want. And then we'll put that together and go from there. I don't believe this is the last notification that will go out in regards to that.
Okay.
I just think it's great that they're actually going to give us a hostel back. So, good work.
Okay, so, any public comment? Okay, going to item 11, consider miscellaneous legislative and budget matters pertinent to the County of Del Norte, authorize the chair to sign and send appropriate letters with respect to matters pending before the state or federal governments.
We don't have any letters before the board today in regards to legislation. Obviously, with the signing of most of the state legislation, we know what's before us. The SRA tax or fee has been probably the focus of most of the people around. Regarding the budget, yes, we passed our budget, and we'll be looking at it again probably somewhere between December and January at mid-year, which is not very far away, and coming up with any recommendations to the board at that time. But at this point, nothing before the board that requires action.
Okay.
I should tell you that
Supervisor
the Jarvis tax people did file the class action suit. It has been filed on behalf of the RSA against the SRA fees, calling it a tax and not a fee. That's good. I accidentally left the RCRC manual from our board meeting up in the room that had, or from my office rather, that had a myriad of all the legislation that was opposed and supported and what happened, and just without citing any in particular, the governor did veto some bills that were significant that RCRC, the regional counties, did oppose. So he did listen, even going against the grain of his party, and things that we supported, he also signed. So there was, I'm sure, some that slipped through the cracks, but for the most part, he undid some of the damage that the legislature tried to do.
Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yeah, I just have one thing. When Supervisor Sullivan and I were at RCRC, we had a chance to sit down with Grace Bennett and Michael Cobseth from Siskiyou County and discussed some legislature that they're going to introduce. It's a pilot program that they're leaving open for any county to piggyback onto. They also had a white paper where they discuss the issues of timberlands similar to Del Norte County. They're much larger, but we have similar issues. So I would hope that staff would be taking a look at that, and I would be more than happy to help all that I can, and I'm sure Supervisor Sullivan would also. But we need to be taking a look at seeing if we can't jump on this pilot program, see if there's some areas of opportunity.
I would concur.
I did email that to Jay and also to Randy Hooper, but Jay, maybe you could send that to the rest of the supervisors. I should have sent it to everybody.
Okay.
And to county council.
Any other items? Okay, at this point, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.